Hey everybody, this is Covert Reality, and we're at February the 6th, and I have a lot of things to say today, and just very intense time we're having. Living in Canada, above the United States right now, is very interesting. There's so much pressure from the relations that we have with the United States, that is so intact. Like, we have a relationship with the United States. We don't even feel like there is a border there, even though it is kind of a pain to get your passport these days and get into the United States if you're in Canada. I hear there's like 6 stages now of getting your cross-border passport. So it does seem like it's a little bit hard to get over the border, but we do share all sorts of different things. Our economy is like 75% entwined. We share a lot of the culture now, but a lot of this has been because of United States policy kind of overriding even Canadian content in Canada. We have a very, very interesting time right now because all the decisions Canada's making have no validity whatsoever in any direction to help us in the world. It shows a clear hand of dictatorship, and it shows a clear hand of an approach that doesn't have anything to do with transparency or with goodness or with purity. It only can survive off of being deceitful in a plan that relishes and loves the idea of holding everyone by these invisible strings, making them do all these other things. It's like there was a divide in intellect when intellect turned into deceit, and then that divide of intellect that turned into deceit just found great and grand pleasure watching people that didn't even think that there would be someone doing anything psychologically to them, but watching masses of people do things, or even a person, a friend of theirs, they maybe even be able to, make that person feel a certain way, or say a joke to them that has something to it that goes right over the person's head when it's directly making fun of that person. There are the divide of intellect that kind of enjoyed too much of the manipulation and joy of pulling one over another person, where it got to be bad enough where you started taking from them and demeaning them, actually, where you start to actually feel like you're not even standing in the same plateau as them. You feel like you're on a different level. And like, I know that there's different things in life that we all have where we feel like we're in a different level, or we might feel like we're more experienced at, but we all have the same worth. No matter what experience we have in what field, we all have the same worth. We just need to see through the confusion of the system, understand what's controlling you, and then you can really get to the point of who you are, what you're made of, and really what it was inside that made you the way you are. So when you don't do that, you're manipulatable. You are, and I was too, and I don't like the thought of that. So I went through a big transitionary stage, rightfully so, to not want to be manipulated. So the structure can't manipulate me anymore. So I'm kind of, one of those neutral folks, I guess. But the fact that we have this time and day on our hands here, with the United States making friends with Russia, and you hear mainstream media calling Putin a killer and a murderer and totalitarian, and these things I just find are, I just find it really obvious now that the people that are perpetrating the evil to everybody are the ones calling the names, or that don't really understand that we can see through it, So all of the legislative things that Donald Trump has done, legislative is it's just kind of a crossbreed of from Parliament and more define government bodies. Legislation is a different word than parliament. But for some reason, everyone's just kind of abided by this legislative building or legislative process. And it's kind of a sub-process, really, in Canada here. That's kind of being more and more controlled by the United States with our broadcasting standards and everything like that. Have kind of grown into being where it's all controlled. The CRTC in Canada does really good damage control. They literally like to make sure that the CRTC funds all of the radio stations, and they have the power to actually stop all radio stations and override all of them at once and make an announcement. So CRTC can override that anytime they want to. They were able to override Covert reality show, 3-month suspension till March 1st or something. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to the 100.3 FM, but I can understand the pressure that a radio station gets when you're cracking open a lot of truth about geoengineering operations and the scientific players behind it, the professors that are working endlessly to deceive the public, to make them believe it's them that's causing this nanotechnology to overtake our whole ecosystem and override it. There's so much at stake right now that has been called out in the United States that makes it kind of weird that there's this whole movement against Donald Trump in such a degree that it's almost scary. It's making a lot of people that weren't really ever into politics, that have kind of went through the media lies, look back now and go and step back and take a look at it, and they literally say, wow, wait a minute, who's acting evil here now, and who's acting bullyish, and who's got this bully tactic? If you can cross-reference somebody without even meeting them, and you can just see their behavior, and it matches someone that's kind of following a bully mentality, that's either been given the permission by another grand bunch of bullies that have all been feeling the same way of animosity throughout their lives. I just feel like that a lot of us have all different reasons to feel that we're not with the crowd, or we're not exactly like everyone. But that's good. It's good to be unique and yourself and your own thing. And so getting back to the whole radio thing, they rely on, like Canada now in 1982 and 83 and around there, really changed their outlook to what was important and meaningful to what was more of an image. And they wanted to to moderate or to regulate the information coming to the public. So it was never really anything juicy or organic. It was always just a broad, vague statement to kind of just represent the culture of Canada and what it might represent, whatever they feel it might represent, which answers everything that I grew up to through the school system. The Waterloo Regional School Board is probably one of the most creepiest school boards I've ever grown up in. It's kind of modern day, I started going to school in the 70s and the mid 70s, and I got to tell you, I just really have never thought I'd go through what I went through, and how much pressure they really put onto you to stay in school, and if you don't, you have a police officer there telling you you're going to go to bad boy school, and he scares you into like what might happen to you there and stuff. And then when you're in school, it's all just about finding out what kind of person you are, finding out who your name is, your family. The teacher family night is more or less just so the teacher can have an overall evaluation of the family. And it's where the school system literally gets right involved with the family. And it's just so sick and tiring because the school system shouldn't even be in place in the first place. It should be just something that's an optional thing that you can go into. It shouldn't have been forced onto anybody. So it was just forced onto everybody, like a police force would put on a red helmet because there's an agenda. So we have this big huge lust in the world still that's kind of overlaying us for the longest time of oppressionary view, disconnected with Canada and the Europe, a lot of the Europeans and the Vatican and Queen Elizabeth very strongly related to Canada. And our head of state here in Canada is the Queen of England. You know, it's kind of like a reserve place that the Queen of England secretly owns. But most people don't realize that. They just think it's Pierre Trudeau. Well, no, Pierre Trudeau was housed in Buckingham Palace when he was a kid, and then you hear on other reports of them doing MKUltra programs out of the Vatican and Buckingham Palace. So I find that really interesting because look at where we are today. We got the United States understanding. I'm not just saying that in a simple term. I really mean it. Most of the United States, I'd say about 60% now, solidly, maybe 70 or more percent, solidly are waking up and are fed up with the old way of being oppressed, and it's waking up the country quick that they can't even really keep up with it. That the only option that they're trying to create is war after war after war. And the greatness of Donald Trump wanting to be friends with Russia means greatness for people, whether they like it or not. Along the Grand River here, the Grand River Mohawks have a very significant tie with their ally, Russia, based on the Great Peace. They both recognize the Great Peace. Okay? They both believe in that. So anything you've been hearing about in the news, and I'm not going to say that all leaders of countries don't get their share of shenaniganism and messing around in the public purse, but the better person you are inside, the least that you would do stuff like that. And if you ever did do stuff like that, you'd probably do it to give it to other people. So it's kind of a thing where you're kind of watching a system if you're in it and it's controlled entirely, locked down and controlled, and you're a player alongside it. Doesn't mean that you are someone that really enjoys the game, right? So you might be looking at the game going, I don't really like the way this game's played, man. There's something about this game that's kind of rigged. It's like as you watch along the sidelines at the plays going on. You know, you see this, there's something wrong with this game. And if you don't do anything to try to make it a better place, to make it even for everybody, then we're all just going to be on a teeter-totter or a ship that's got one end in the water and the other end sticking out. I really care about this planet. What I wanted to have this episode about was what it's like to be in the know. Like, I mean, it's changed my life so much that I can't even comprehend it. Like, there's not even really a word I can even think of. But I've been really just kind of learning about how we're being controlled, and I'm just trying to mention it to people. And you'd think that a lot of people would be totally blown away and like right away go, wow, holy cow, really? And that they'd be, but that just doesn't happen, does it? And I just have always wondered, like, wow, why is it that we have to feel so alienated for so long, so scrutinized, so made fun of, so swept under the carpet, so abused by local police and administrations, so lied about, the reputable damages, the paperwork that's changed, and when you go in to try to get just a copy of something that they know that they can get in trouble for because they didn't realize what was going on at the time. For instance, a letter that was sent to me saying I could no longer come to Cambridge City Hall if I want to speak about chemtrails and geoengineering or chemical trails and stuff. I'm not allowed to go there and talk about that, but I can do other stuff. Anything I need to do outside of that, I'm more than welcome. I was just looking for that same note. When I went to go get the copy, halfway in between getting that done for me, I was interrupted by a taller lady with too much makeup, and she was literally taking over the situation. I told her then and there, that I said, listen, this seems a little bit fishy to me, so I'll just leave it at this. If the document that that I'm requesting is altered in any way from the original document, then I'll know you guys are playing with something and that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So it came in the mail about 4 days later, and it was totally changed. It was so changed that I couldn't even, it was just obviously a totally different document. And even added a few extra provisions in it that mentioned at the end that I can no longer go to the City Hall, period. So, and if I do go, I'll be met with, they literally do, now they probably won't because I haven't been there in a long time, but when I was going there just to go in, I wasn't trying to be I was just being a person that knows that this is where our money goes through to Cambridge Corporation, and it goes into this building. And the building that the Cambridge City Hall has people in are all filled with people that only know how to deceit, or people that work at the front desk that have no idea that the deceit is that dark, that they just love having that job title and working at City Hall. And then they kind of they like that, and why not, right? Hey, my mom works at City Hall. Oh, hey, that's cool. But then they think that, well, what does your mom do? Well, she's kind of a gatekeeper, but she doesn't know it. And I'm not going to say it's just but I mean, there's the guys, you can tell when they are woken up. I'm not going to say a gender thing. I just mean that I'm noticing this just myself, that when it seems to be like when people in goodness wake up to what's controlling them, even though if they're working at a company that's screwing them over and they don't even realize it, that they're doing bad for the world by working at this company, once they wake up, 8 out of 10 people would say, okay, I don't want to work at that place anymore. So that's kind of what we have to do. We have to influence, and we have to be smart about what's going on. Because Canada needs a totally different place. There's really big talk heads and media kind of types and news anchor people in Canada right now that are really frustrated at where we're heading in the country with the fraudulent carbon tax, with them, with China and Canada coming together to try to force everybody onto it. This is really getting to be a little out of hand. So there's other people that are challenging Justin Trudeau because what they're doing is literally making our kids and our grandkids literally have to not even know how to live. They'll be so busy working and they'll be making next to nothing, but it'll be under a program that may even be so, like, where they've been, like, oh wow, they're already trying to put people into small little places here. And Waterloo Region is one of the biggest reasons why I think I've been wondering what's been controlling my surroundings, right, my whole life. But I've only lived in Waterloo Region here most of my life. So now I realize that region's a military term. I realize that Waterloo Region's got a Waterloo District School Board, Waterloo Regional District School Board, or whatever it is called, the Waterloo Regional District School Board. I just have always, I don't know, there's just something about it that this seems so regimented and so blah. And we got a big I on our library, and it's not even a library, aren't even Galt, Preston, or Hesper Library anymore. They're all called just Ideas Unlimited. Ideas Unlimited. Okay, so this leads me to so many different things about this area. I mean, I've already talked about before. I'm not trying to throw arrows at anyone either. It's just like, you want to live in this day, you're going to be transparent, or you're going to be just a loser jackass that wants to hide and deceive people because you take pride in knowing that you're pulling one over the public and they don't know it. Like, there's no merit in that. There's no merit in pulling something over your colleagues or the public. So, and it doesn't matter how good you appear to be, you need to be really showing that. And if you have messed up and are having a hard time kind of keeping a balance, just be open and apologize, and or not even if you have a hard time apologizing, just admit to the group of people, say, yeah, I gotta admit, I've been kind of this way, and I'm sorry about that. I do recognize that. Just so we can at least move on. It's not a competition. There's no reason for people to be upset. There's no reason for people to be mad at other people. Why the heck is that even coming into play? Well, it's because we have personal issues that some of us really need to deal with on our own. And the only way that they'll be able to clear any of this up is if that individual deals with their personal issues on their own, one by one, and admits to their guilt. Because if you can admit to the things you're doing wrong, if it's hurting other people, it's better to do that than to look like somebody that's hiding something. Because when you're found out, no one's going to ever trust you ever again. Even when you're reschooled and stuff, you may have to go move somewhere to be retrusted again. I just really am aiming for equal freedom for everybody. Like, for equal everything. Like, for everyone to be on the same level all the time. Brothers and sisters. Working together. Water flowing. Keeping the water with great energy in it. I'm not a negative energy person. I've been called out as being negative energy. I'm very honest. I know that there's infiltrators within our group. I know that there's infiltrators within every group. And they're not really bad infiltrators. It's just that you don't really know what's on the other side. You don't really know if they're into it because of their own little reasons. But when certain people do or have been, like myself, I've had personal experiences from certain people that have definitely been lying and messing with people on a large scale to gain access to certain things. That's when I get concerned. That's when I start to wonder, are these people doing good or are they doing bad? Because when you make up a story to gain access to something, that's kind of deceitful, isn't it? So then admit to it that you were wrong and that you were involved, and then we can get past it. Because there are people that are doing certain things, and it's funny because there's so many people that I've seen when involved in the waking up aspect, getting back to the topic of the show, what it's like to be an activist. When you end up being surrounded by other people that start to wake up too, but it kind of like elevates a whole new era of ego that I hadn't seen before. Like, I'd seen it in sports before, and I'd seen it in, like, growing up and stuff with the bullies wanting to punch you in the face, or if you're with a good-looking girl, other guys want to beat you up. Like, I understand that side of it. But when you're really being a chemtrail activist is interesting, or even an activist in anything. I'm not just a chemtrail activist, by the way, or a geoengineering activist. It's pretty much exposing everything that's controlling our surroundings is what we're doing. We're waking up to all of our things that are happening. But what I want to say is that there's definite personalities within that have been quite outrageous. And I'm not trying to point fingers, but things happen, okay? So we need to work on these things. And I feel like myself as a prominent activist in today, alongside of so many others. And I know there's so many others that have way more experience, been digging and doing so many more things that I'd ever think of doing. But we're all in this for the same reason, to expose it and to come to an understanding. But there's some people that need to really just kind of come clean about how they've been kind of putting themselves in a certain situation that makes their actions quite outrageous. And then I'm just trying to keep up with it all because I'm feeling like I shouldn't have this hatred against me when I haven't really done anything. And I'm trying to like figure out why there's hatred. And then where it comes to physical violence or threats and when you're in public in person with the person and you're actually just trying to create peace with them at the moment as well. I just don't know what else to say when there's someone that you love as a brother or sister that are in the same town as you and they hate you for some reason. So this is what I'm kind of wanting to get at with this episode, was talking about being an activist in this day. It's like another era, another elevation, another level of ego that is almost dangerous. Because people like kind of think about, wow, you know, I could be at the top of this, or look at me, or you know, thinking their color has some sort of fight in this over other colors. Like, stuff like that really freaks me out. So we have to kind of get away from that, realize that we're all here, and just kind of work with it. Like, let's not try to always get something from it. Like, We're always trying to get something from something. And, it's like, if we're all working together, it's great. And if we're all messing with each other, it's not. And it's like, no wonder we don't get forward, because we don't move forward, because we still have people that like to mess with people, that kind of drags you down and it wastes your time. All the energy I've had to put into just defending myself and my body and my being has made me look like I'm this troublemaker. So other people that are treating me like that, they become friends. And then they unite. And then all their friends stop talking to me. It's easy to see. Let's just stop talking about people behind their backs, saying stuff. I'm just a person that's trying to stop the annihilation of our sovereignty and our air and our water. That's it. I never once sat there and thought, wow, okay, good, I'm going to do this, and other people are going to look at me. I never ever once thought about that. But now I think that people really were, and they were like sitting there really looking at me going, oh, I hate that guy. Oh, look at him, he did that again. I hate his Facebook statuses. He's always bragging about stuff. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that, man, that no one is doing anything about anything, so I'm just trying to influence and encourage the momentum of change, of waking up. And I get excited because it's easy to just go and talk to somebody. And so I have every right to ignite that it's easy to go and talk to people and then put a status up about that. But to have people hate me for it, and to not want to work with me at all, or when I even try to collaborate with them at all, and when I think we're all in the same project or same meaning together, that we really aren't. That's what I'm trying to get to here. We need to sift through and find the most purest people on the planet. And even the people that aren't as pure, they're pure from the beginning. We're all pure and we're innocent from the beginning. But later on, if you go and do some things that make you feel tainted or make you feel like you're not, that maybe you've done wrong. If you really want to become pure again, you got to kind of forgive yourself for that. You're going to have to just kind of, be open about it though. Don't just keep lying and making someone else look like they're aggressive or that I'm not dealing with things in the right manner, because it's misleading to others when you have a lot of explaining to do yourself in major ways when I step back and look at it all. So, and even if you admitted to half the things that you did, and I'm speaking of a bunch of people here, this is what makes it really weird, because I've been attacked personally by people when the status I'm talking about might not even have been about them. I'm just talking about generally speaking of certain personalities, not a specific person. But it makes me realize who of the people are more aggressive, because the ones that are more aggressive will get in your face and say stuff that's really aggressive. Now, I try not to do that at all, unless I know someone's lying and they have the chance to actually recoup their lies, but instead they go ahead and keep it going, like I'm really still a bad person and I really did something wrong to them. Now, if that's happening to a lot of other people, then like I say, it's probably a natural progression of the era we're in. So I find it really interesting. I guess we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we will see you in a little while. And just interesting times we're in. If you're a Canadian right now, you're probably feeling really misrepresented. We should get it back to Canada, Kanata, and live in harmony and make the right decisions for the rest of the world, and make a negotiation of peace with these conglomerates that have been ruling us ever so arrogantly. We need to find some peace there. Be right back. We're back on Covert Reality, and we have just kind of been talking about the things that happen when you wake up and you go through all the challenges of your friends not understanding you all of a sudden because your personality changes. You instantly get hungry for when you find out what's controlling you and what's controlling your oppression and your surroundings. You instantly want to know more, and you can't stop. So you just get on another track. But you still love art, and you still love music, and you still love whatever you love. But your personality definitely does change because you just woke up to what you're being controlled by. So of course you're going to change. Now what really freaks me out is like just the reaction you get from people when you're going through this. You lose so many friends. You go through so much heartache. You're trying to mend it together. You're trying to keep it together. You can never say the right thing because you're too excited inside that you've figured out something just enough of your own understanding of what seems, to fit for you. And so, but other people take it like that you know more than them and you're trying to be, that you're in a competition or something like that. And it's never that. It's never that. So, but then I can't say there's never that. It just depends on who you are. But with me, it's never that. But I can see when other people are being competitive with me. I've always been that. In fact, one of my good friends the other day just said to me, in fact, Chad, and I'm not trying to say this to boast, but he did say this. Chad, in fact, like, you're like the exact opposite. Like, you're the furthest away from being competitive of a person. Like, you're like one of the furthest people I know of being furthest away from being competitive. Okay, now that's from a good friend of mine, a really close friend of mine. And I had to like kind of, because it's really important that you take a break from any event or situation and realize that whatever you did, you said it from the heart, whatever way you felt was right. So I really just kind of hold on to that aspect. And when I sit back and I've been called aggressive, like at the end of the day, I think about all the things that were thrown at me that I never called anyone aggressive. I never called anyone that they lost it or were aggressive and the way you do this and blah, 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 and pointing arrows at me. I was just pointing out a question. It was a question. And it was getting to be a little bit annoying, yeah, but when you just are asking, when you are just kind of just trying to make peace or trying to make understanding with somebody, and they just keep kind of going on and on and on, like they will never change their aspect, you wonder why they're even there at your meeting. Why come and show up when... See, this is the thing. What this episode is about is this. I love everybody. This is a whole new experience for me. Having people hate me. Now, why would they even hate me? Why would they even want to do that? Like, I personally haven't done anything wrong to them personally, indirectly at all. In fact, it's the other way around. But I'm still made out, and because these people are prominent people online or in the movement or whatever it is of the fight to make things a better place, there's still certain things about people that really kind of suck underneath that, eh? And I guess, I talk a lot. That's the biggest thing that sucks about me. That's why I do these little radio things, because I talk so much. I could do these all day. I could do it all day. I could actually pretend, like, forget that I'm recording. And so I get it. Like, I know I could be annoying in a certain way, or I could be over excessive, but it's all based on heart. So when you're out there to deceive and to feel like underneath it you kind of still just trying to get something, let's man and woman up here. Let's literally take this situation we have and put your hand on the steering wheel, and let's guide this place into a better dock, okay? Because the dock that we're the dock that we're on right now doesn't even exist. The boat's just kind of going back and forth and banging into the rock, and it's the front of the boat's busted. So we literally are going nowhere. We need to fix the boat, get the boat turned around, just keep us from being roped up and locked there, so we can freely sail. Because we need everybody on the same side for that. Like, we need everybody here. And I'm just trying to say, like, I know a lot of people, not even a lot. To be honest with you, there's 2 people in my life right now. Well, 3. The other one was somebody that was from a radio station. It was driving me nutty. But now I understand why that person at the radio station was acting like a flying monkey, doing all these crazy things. It's because the CRTC literally can pull the plug on them like that. Boom. So we were actually making a dent there. We were actually making a dent on Covert Reality on 100.3 FM, and I really feel proud of the president of that station to get us on there for 6 months and 24 episodes, because we did do enough damage to turn some good things around. It was good things we did, and it just make these people that are kind of getting away with their manipulative structure over us with the new carbon taxation, and even way before that with their school system and just everything, the way that our economy has been taken over by a private banking system. It's just been not followed by the books for so long that something had to give. So now here we are. We're at, we're past January 20th. We're into February 6th now, and January 20th was the inauguration day. Which a lot of people thought that, when the election was taking place, a lot of people thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. Her followers hoped that she would, but a lot of us that were, seeing what was going on, we could sit there and see that Donald Trump was actually the one that was making all the right decisions, and he was like following someone that actually sounded like a real patriot that knew what to do. And it was refreshing. It reminded me of Ron Paul, but I just couldn't understand that. Why is it all so out in the open, and the media is so out in the open now with it, and it's so allowed to be out in the open now? Whereas, like, when Ron Paul was saying it, it just wasn't, the media didn't bite it up as much. They were all bought and paid for too much or something. I just wondered why. Like, I always thought, wasn't it time and good enough for, and maybe Ron Paul's age was a factor, but he came out and said a lot of different things, and should have won the election in 2008 in the United States. So it has a lot to do with the effery that's going on around us that's making our system unequal. Will bring out the outcome of this poverty or whatever that you see. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the economy. But no, it's not. It's a bunch of people creating effery. You see those people in Cambridge standing in the medians, sleeping in the banks, sleeping in all the banks, and sitting on the medians. And a couple people that during a meeting the other day were sitting beside us, and they look like military operatives to me. I kind of get their physique. I can't always say that I know exactly who people are, but I can tell a lot now, like a different kind of people over time, I'm almost 50. I shouldn't say almost 50, but being 45, turning 46 in another couple months makes me kind of feel like I'm almost 50. So, I'm like, I kind of look at it like it's kind of, maybe I'm halfway done here. I always kind of thought that I'd be 212 years old, but I figured if I couldn't live that long, maybe half of that would be okay, so 106. But we can, when we can pull, I believe we can pull our lifespan a lot longer if we learn how to absorb and replenish what it takes to keep yourself nice and tight-skinned and pure by eating the right things and thinking the right way. So right now I'm just kind of going through this experience where there's, and I'm not trying to be selfish, this needs to be said, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing, that have a lot of people around them in a bigger way that are literally trying to mess with their life. Like, I know that there's Amanda Danielle. She has people that try to mess with their life. They literally call her, and they're probably part of the power structure. that are literally trying to make deals with her, it sounds, to kind of like, hey, well, you know what you know, and why don't you join us and be a radio show host or something. It almost seems like they're trying to, they call her at different hours at night and just annoy her, and it gets really annoying, but because she knows what these people are trying to do. And we're good people just trying to wake up the world about what's going on with the spraying in the atmosphere. But they don't want us to know this because the nanotech and robotics that are behind it all will make everyone lose their mind when they find out. Well, rightfully so. So it's just like, but are they ready for this now? They got the cell towers and all this stuff in play, right? They have our cell phones and cell towers. I'm recording on a cell phone right now using a voice recorder. But I don't have the cell phone hooked up yet because I just have this really weird feeling about being surveilled. That's how I look at communications these days, is absolute surveillance. They get us all lost in this, colorful gadget kind of things that are neat, that fit in our hand, and we can go through all these different cool things to keep us away from the reality that it's bringing a lot of that frequency and radiation array, especially when they spray, right around you, and it's affecting you all the more if you're a fluoride drinker and you have aluminum in your body. Apparently, those two things are 10,000 times more toxic than each original substance. So you can imagine that when two certain elements are put together. No wonder we're all shaken. No wonder everyone's all has neurological problems nowadays, and our bones are feeling brittle. We need to get our calcium, our vitamin D, and we need to try nano buckets and to try them out to see what comes out of your skin. Anything that's inorganic should come out. And it's been effective with pets. And if you want to look online, I mentioned this in the last broadcast. Tony Pantelleresco, Dr. Tony Pantelleresco, I do believe. He is online there. He does nanobuckets, and he is actually quite targeted. So he's been fighting to try to keep up with all of the nano tech that's in him and getting it out. And he got filled with bruises and stuff. Like when you pull a hair out of a same spot a couple times, it might go a little bit red. It's sort of like that. It gives that kind of effect around the skin because everything that's in your skin embedded there inside your body, it literally comes out of your skin as fiber or as anything. But once it's inorganic and dead, and your skin's got to come out somehow. If it's embedded in your skin already, once it's inside, because that's what it does, kind of marries your inside of your organs and whatever's on your insides too. So nanotechnology is a very deceptive thing, and they teach it in schools where it doesn't seem deceptive. It seems really interesting. But once people understand that nanotechnology is being sprayed into our atmosphere, and what they can do with holographic technology, again, I'll mention strontium-90, barium, and niobate, will create holographic technology. Now, there's a big push about the alien thing, the alien card. This is all so the military and all these people really kind of controlling the game behind the scenes that's the only way they can really go about keeping their control over something, and they just kind of need that deception. They need that to keep going, and I just really, we need to get to a point where the military shouldn't feel afraid that they've been forced to play this card because they feel like all the people that handle the money, that own the estates and stuff, like the Rockefellers and whoever they might be entitled to with these programs and agendas, I guess they feel like they won't be able to operate, and then they'll be sitting there like with all their toys and all their things and all their military might, with the public looking at them like, you bastards. What the heck are you doing behind the public purse and the public trust? What are you doing? And they're afraid of that. And it's kind of like, well, you should be. I mean, you've been spraying us and trying to make us, but we're not trying to create a war at the same time. So we understand again that that this whole thing is about creating division, getting us upset, getting us mad. With the AI going on, the artificial intelligence, it is, and like Suzanne Marr is an amazingly great source. She has a wonderful heart, and she's a absolute, full, genuine person, and it's a pleasure to know her actually and to speak to her, because she is, as well as Jolie Diane, but as well as a lot of people, Amanda Danielle as well, just a lot of different people I like to speak to. The ones that are harmonious when you're talking, where you get each other's vibe. It's really hard to find that these days. So the AI, the artificial intelligence that comes along with the nanotech, I'm wondering if it's playing along with I know there's definite ego in the movements. Absolute ego that's like far skyrocketed, and they kind of lie and make up stories and try to, make themselves appear as that they're not at all like they were before. And how dare that other person that's a victim even try to defend themselves? Like, the arrogance of that is just, it goes too far. You got to come to a point where you're causing ultimate damage, and you're creating damage over everyone's heads. Once the people find that out, that you really have been the one that's kind of been out of line, then just fess it now so we can all work together. Because I don't know if you guys are operatives or if you work in the darker Freemason side, but I feel that everything, because I understand evil, I understand good. I understand how deep each side goes. So all I'm trying to say is, like, if we need to find exact equilibrium, we need to recognize that we all are here, and we all need to find a joining point where we recognize all of us have a place here. We just have to figure out how we can go about it without harming others, or making fun of others, or putting other people down because of their opinions, or even calling someone out as being aggressive when in fact all they're doing is protecting something that is very dear to their heart. It's like when someone is in your group of people and they are about to, deep down inside they want to take your daughter or something like that, and you got that weird feeling from them before, but then you kind of almost get a weird look you can see it in them, or like anyone that's just like deceptive on the outside when you see them, and then they are that. It's like, and once you find out, you just like you better watch out, because when you're being looked at like you are only in it for yourself, and you don't apologize for all the damage you've done, and you keep joining meetings pretending nothing's happened. There's something weird about that. Only if the people that are perpetrating the hate keep doing that and keep making up stories about someone that definitely doesn't deserve it, like myself. And I can be backed up by everyone that I've grown up with and around throughout this whole town. And if anyone wants to, you can post underneath the comments there if you disagree or agree with what I just said, or if you think that I'm here to cause problems in the world. Feel free to message me underneath, because I know that's what I'm not here for. So let's all be friends, everybody. I never meant to ever make anyone upset in the beginning at all. It was all misunderstandings. And to those people that have really, that have come around and stuff, just be true about why you're coming around. There's it's a point of time now, and I mean this in a broad way, where a lot of people right now should really just understand or take note. Not really understand, but just take note that whoever is involved in your life, in your surroundings, I'm not trying to point at anybody here. I'm just trying to say that we all have certain people in our lives that come in and out of our lives. We just have to determine who is it that's genuine and not looking for something? And who is it that's not? And it comes down to that. And that's it. It just comes down to who's pure and who's not pure. And who's less pure and who's more pure. It doesn't even really matter. We all just have to kind of realize that that was based on a system that was messed up and backwards anyway. So that's where all that impurity comes from. Okay? So now we just have to recognize that that's what is existing right now, which is out in the open. So we're seeing ultimate evil coming out in the open. So that's a good tee-off, because now we can start 2017 into our influential stage, and where we can actually influence those that are in power or that are feeling like they are in a bind because of what's going on. That they don't need to feel in a bind, they just need to give up their agendas and live in harmony and peace with the rest of us. That will conclude, I should say, our episode today, and have a great week, and we will talk to you again next time.